Trump suggests Putin wants to end the war as Zelensky looks on. President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine wore a grim expression as he stood next to former President Donald J. Trump. The two leaders were appearing on Fox News after their meeting on Friday in Trump Tower, Manhattan, their first in 5 years. As Zelensky stood silently beside Trump, Donald Trump presented a Russia-Ukraine war as one that both sides wanted to end, including its instigator, President Vladimir Putin of Russia. Trump did not fault the Russian leader for the invasion or for the illegal seizure of territory or for thousands of Ukrainians being lost. Instead, the former president described the situation as if it were a dispute between two parties operating in good faith that could be resolved in a fair deal, but only if he returns to the White House. He said, "I've been saying that I believe if I win, we're going to have a very fair and I think actually rather rapid deal," Trump said. The war, he said, should stop, and the president wants it to stop. I'm sure President Putin also wants it to stop, and that's a good combination. So we want to have a fair deal for everyone. Zelensky is in a difficult position with Mr. Trump. He knows Trump has a solid chance of winning in November, and that if he does, he will immediately face a decision over how much support to give Ukraine and what posture the United States will take in the conflict. Earlier this week, Zelensky made mildly critical comments about Trump that almost scuttled their meeting. And as he stood alongside Trump on Fox News on Friday, Zelensky was diplomatic but struggled to make clear where he thought the blame resided. This war should not be started, and I think that the problem that Putin killed so many people, and of course, we need to do everything to pressure him to stop this war, Zelensky said. He is on our territory, that's the most important understanding. He's on our territory, and how to stop the war, to pressure him as we can, we have to do it, he said. The two leaders had just spent roughly an hour together in the conference room on the 25th floor of Trump Tower on Friday morning. They were both in uniform. Trump wore shiny dress shoes, a blue suit, and a long red tie. Zelensky was in work boots, cargo pants, and an olive green sweatshirt. The last time they were together, in September 2019, Donald Trump was in the middle of a scandal, one of the biggest of his presidency, over the phone call he made to Zelensky, in which he pressured the Ukrainian leader to investigate his political rival, Joe Biden. Now, only 6 weeks before the election day, Zelensky has arrived as a wartime leader to shore up a shaky relationship. Before the meeting, they emerged from double doors together. Trump and Zelensky paused at the head of a large conference table to deliver brief remarks to reporters. "I think that we can work out something that's good for both sides," Trump said, insisting that if he won the election, he would be able to end the war even before taking office on January 20th. Zelensky has previously expressed skepticism over Trump's claims that he could rapidly end the war, and Trump's public statements over the past 2 years have given the Ukrainians plenty of reasons to be concerned. He initially described the 2022 invasion of Ukraine by Putin as an act of genius, quote unquote, and he has repeatedly insisted that he could resolve the conflict within 24 hours, a message that some in Ukraine take to mean that he would pressure them to capitulate to Russia. "We have common view that the war in Ukraine has to be stopped," Zelensky said on Friday as he stood beside Trump. He said, "And Putin can't win and Ukraine has to prevail." Trump has not directly answered whether he wants Ukraine to win the war, and it's unclear what any such victory would look like. Zelensky wants more American weapons, and his plan is to strike back harder at Russia, with continued attacks inside Russian borders. The result, he hopes, would be a stronger negotiation position for Ukraine to lock in security guarantees in a peace deal. Zelensky told reporters at Trump Tower that he was there to discuss his plan to bring about a just peace. He was careful to remain apolitical in his remarks, and Zelensky has tried to maintain good relationship with both Republicans and Democrats, given that the Ukrainian military relies on bipartisan support from Congress for the continuing supply of high-powered weapons. And Zelensky emphasized that he had met with both presidential candidates this week. but his efforts on Friday morning to stay out of U.S. domestic politics lasted about 3 minutes. Trump immediately dragged the Ukrainian leader back into an episode that tested the relationship between the two countries when he was president. And Trump said admiringly that Zelensky was like a piece of steel for the way he handled the aftermath of the phone call between the leaders in 2019 that led to Trump's first impeachment. At the time, Trump was holding up aid to Ukraine to increase his leverage over Zelensky, whom he was pressing to open a corruption investigation into the Biden family. Zelensky said publicly that he had felt no pressure on the call, a statement Trump emphasized as a basis for his warm feelings towards the Ukrainian president. He said President Trump did absolutely nothing wrong. Trump recalled, misquoting Zelensky, who stood beside him awkwardly. He said it loud and clear, and the impeachment hoax died right there. Zelensky has said multiple times that he's ready to work with whoever wins the U.S. presidential election in November. If Donald Trump becomes president, then we will work with him, he said. I am not afraid of it, he said. Ukrainian officials started building bridges with Trump's camp this year, hoping to shape his view on Ukraine in case he is elected. A group of Ukrainian lawmakers met with former Trump administration officials in March. But as the U.S. election nears, Ukrainian officials have grown increasingly concerned about Trump's claims that he would end the war swiftly if re-elected, fearing this could result in Ukraine being forced to cede significant territory to Russia. Breaking with his self-professed neutrality, Zelensky questioned Trump's plan to end the war in a recent interview with the New Yorker. He also described Trump's running mate, Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio, who has been deeply critical of previous U.S. aid packages to Ukraine, as too radical. Zelensky's comments to the magazine infuriated the Trump team so much that the Trump Tower meeting almost did not happen. Trump allies were also angry about the visit Zelensky made on Tuesday to a factory in Pennsylvania that supplies munitions for the war. Some close to Mr. Trump claimed that the appearance was election interference because Zelensky had posed for photos with prominent Democrats in the battleground state. The fury in Trump's orbit became so hot that Representative James Comer of Kentucky, the Republican chairman of the House Oversight and Accountability Committee, began an inquiry on Wednesday into Zelensky's trip to Pennsylvania, implying that it was an improper campaign on behalf of Vice President Kamala Harris. House Speaker Mike Johnson released an extraordinary public statement calling on Zelensky to fire his ambassador to the United States. The ambassador, Oksana Markarova, did not attend Friday's meeting. At a campaign event on Wednesday, Trump criticized Zelensky for being someone who refuses to make a deal with Russia, despite the devastation in his country. Trump said that Zelensky was making little nasty aspersions towards him, and still Trump did not go as far in attacking Zelensky as some of his more anti-Ukraine allies had wanted. At least one advisor tried to rile up Trump about how Zelensky was effectively campaigning for Democrats, but the former president dismissed the suggestion, saying that he did not want to talk about it, according to a person with direct knowledge of the conversation. Zelensky sent a warm personal note to Trump to try to get the relationship back on track, telling him it was important for us to have a personal contact to understand each other 100%. After receiving the note, Trump agreed to meet with Zelensky, but he also posted the private message on his social media website, Truth Social, on Thursday. The former president has a history of publicizing private communications when he thinks they are politically advantageous. In this case, the message showed that it was Zelensky who sought the meeting. Analysts in Ukraine say the Zelensky administration has been developing strategies to appeal to Trump's key stated interests, such as shoring up the American economy. Some analysts there take comfort in the fact that after Russia illegally annexed Crimea in 2014, Trump reversed President Barack Obama's policy of not providing lethal weapons to Ukraine. At the meeting on Friday, Trump sat at the center of the table, framed by American flags. There was no Ukrainian flag, an exclusion that would be out of norm if it were an official state visit. Several critical Trump advisors were also present. Richard Grenell, Mr. Trump's former acting director of national intelligence, attended. Trump's top political advisors, Sue Wiles and Chris LaCivita, sat at the conference table to Trump's left. Zelensky brought his closest aide, his chief of staff, Andrei Yermak. And Trump said in the Fox interview that he learned a lot in the meeting. He said he was open to meeting again. And Zelensky took the opportunity to invite Trump to visit Ukraine. And Trump said, I will. I'm sure you'll do that after there's peace there. In a post on X, Zelensky described the meeting as very productive. He said, I presented him our victory plan, and we thoroughly reviewed the situation in Ukraine and the consequences of conflict for our people. Zelensky wrote on post, many details were discussed. I'm grateful for this meeting. A just peace is needed. We share the common view that the war in Ukraine must be stopped. Putin cannot win. Ukrainians must prevail, whatever that means. And Zelensky's final assertion that Ukraine must prevail and Putin must be denied a victory goes further than anything Trump, of course, said in public. This is from the New York Times. It's on DNYUZ. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.